On Saturday, voters across the 27 local government areas of Imo State will be heading to the polls to elect the person who would govern the state for the next 4 years. Joining us this morning on Breakfast Central is Dr. Fidel Oyeneke. He's a public affairs analyst. Good morning and thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being with you.
Good to have you. I'm going to start with the little controversy concerning the Commissioner of Police who has, just been replaced. Mohammed Bade has had a pretty, interesting time as Commissioner of Police in Imo State. He was, of course, accused of, partisanship in the previous elections in Imo State. He was deployed to Adamawa State during the last elections in 2023. And of course, we all saw what happened in the Adamawa State elections. Complete chaos and confusion that, he was once again also accused of partisanship and being a part of, the mess that happened there. Now he has been redeployed. Is this great news for the Imo State elections, first of all?
Well, in the first place, election is so sensitive that whatever people feel will not go away for them. They will make requests for it. And the best way to assure this situation is by the government or whoever authority is responsible to carry out the wish and wishes of the people in order to ensure smooth polls. But then I'm not here to talk about the personal or professional competencies or inadequacies of the removed police commissioner. Whatever past he had, it may not be demented now. But the truth is that whenever there are elections, there's a dire need to have some of these changes so that you inject new blood and ensure that things are done right and they build the confidence of the people.
The current situation in Imo State, the elections are just tomorrow, and of course, Inspector General of Police has redeployed the Commissioner of Police. And I did say earlier that Mohammed Bade has had a pretty, not very, very, clean record with regards to elections. In the elections in the past, he, of course, was accused of partisanship in Imo State. He eventually, of course, once again was transferred to Adamawa State to cover the elections there during the 2023 governorship elections. And we saw the mess that happened in Adamawa State. He, of course, I think he was one of those that was once again pointed out as being very, very partisan in the Adamawa State elections. He then has gone back to Rivers State and once again has been accused of playing a partisan role along with other parties in the state or other players in the state. Which, of course, is not a good look for the idea of free and fair elections in Imo State. But it's not just him. There's also the head of a team called Tiger Base. I think they are a security unit, that covers government house in Imo State. They've also been accused of partisanship and some level of brutality. The INEC resident electoral commissioner in Imo State, I think her name is Silva, Professor Sylvia Agu, has also been accused of partisanship. And so it almost sounds like Imo State will have, it's a place to watch out for this weekend. Bayelsa State, of course, has its own, challenges here and there. Kogi State, of course, with the players that are going for election, there's Adino Melaye, who is, former senator, now trying to be governor. Timmy Silva, of course, in Bayelsa State. So these are, very, very big names in Nigerian politics that will be contesting, but Imo State seems to be the one that has had, a lot of, controversy in the build-up to the elections. Bear in mind that in Kogi State, I believe the SDP candidate was attacked. In Imo State, the Labour Party candidate was also attacked. And these are all just, things that have happened in the last couple of weeks because of the elections. Dr. Oyeneke, can you hear us now?
I'm hearing you very well.
All right, welcome back. Kindly go ahead. We had a struggle with your network earlier.
With you.
All right, please go ahead. You were talking about the preparation in Imo State, stating that you are not here to speak categorically about the character or competence of the erstwhile Commissioner of Police in Imo State.
Yes. I am saying that it is not abnormal to change security chiefs like the Commissioner of Police during elections. If that is the only thing you can do to assuage the people and to build the confidence of the people, especially when they are complex. I'm not here to talk about the professional competencies of the redeployed Commissioner of Police. But the truth is that such changes can make the people come out en masse and have more confidence in the electoral system. You know, Imo has been bedeviled with a lot of insecurity, just like most parts of the country anyway, because insecurity is not peculiar to Imo State. But the truth is that anything that can make the people have confidence that they will be protected by the police and other security agencies must be done. And I feel that's exactly what the police high hierarchy has done in this direction to avoid voter apathy.
Better late than never, I believe, because it's been a long time coming that Mohamed Badi has been accused of partisanship. I did mention, what he also was accused of in Adamawa State elections, if you remember how that turned out. But he's not the only one that has been accused of partisanship. The Imo State Resident Electoral Commissioner, Dr. Sylvia Agu, has also been mentioned and accused of partisanship in this whole, process and even prior. So can you share with us, what the frame of mind is for the electorate in Imo State? Do they feel confident that this would be a free and fair, elections that they're going to be taking place with tomorrow?
As long as you have contenders, there is nothing you will do that everybody, the entirety of the population or society, members of the society, will have confidence in what you are doing. Yes, people are complaining that the electoral commissioner should also be redeployed. There is nothing wrong with that because they are entitled to their opinions. But if the INEC now deems it fit to redeploy them, so be it. To redeploy her, so be it, in order to build the confidence of the people.
Would you say that so far the confidence of the people has been built when it comes to elections in Imo State? We have updates here that 15 commissioners of police, 29 deputy commissioners of police, and 40 assistant commissioners of police have been deployed from the force headquarters to Imo State for this election. Would you say that all the actions on the part of the Nigerian police have instilled enough confidence that the people of Imo would actually come out to vote and not be afraid of insecurity challenges?
Rather than building confidence in this particular case now, because of the influx of security agencies, not just the police, because I was opportune 2 days ago to see the military trucks moving about, they call it show of force. If the security men, now that the number is so much, it can even have a negative effect by scaring people from coming out. So you have to go and tell the people, convince the people that these security men are here to protect them and not here to probably embarrass them or harass them and so on and so forth. Because the policemen, the security agencies are already in a place coming to police people who are already aggrieved. So there must be a special and professional way of handling the situation. If not, their presence is capable of scaring people tomorrow and there will be serious voter apathy.
I mean, another thing that might also create voter apathy is, disappointment with the way that the 2023 elections turned out, with the way that it was handled, and the results also, and failures of INEC in one way, or the other, to carry out or to prove and show to the Nigerian people that the elections were free and fair. So, would you say that is also something that Imo State residents have pondered? The way that the elections, were handled in February, would that also affect the interest of residents in Imo State to be a part of the elections tomorrow?
You have just stated the obvious. People no longer have confidence in the electoral system because many of them are dissatisfied over the last election, the presidential and national elections that we are conducting. And you are talking of a place. Imo State is a place where people predominantly voted, felt that the person they voted for, who wanted an Igbo president, and that the person they voted for was not declared. And as such, most people have lost confidence, whether we like it or not. That is why this issue would have required agencies like NUA, National Registration Agency, the media, and even political parties to convince the people to come out. As it is, as we are speaking now, most people now think that even when they cast their votes, that their votes will not count. So these are some of the factors that might affect the elections tomorrow.
Role of the Nigerian Labour Congress in all of this. It's been a lot of drama from the conversation about unpaid salaries that would have led to strike and the attack on Joe Ajaero, the president of the NLC. Do you think that the NLC and its announced strike would have any impact on the elections this year?
The timing of the strike by the National Congress is very, very wrong, and as such, very dangerous. And that is why anybody who accuses of NLC of anything may not be blamed. You know very well that the Nigerian Labour Congress made it very clear that they have sympathy, not just sympathy, that they are affiliated to the Labour Party. And as such, they have shown their partisanship as it affects supporting Labour. So coming at this particular sensitive time, you know that the incumbent governor is a contender, Labour person is contesting and so on, I mean Labour Party and some other parties. For you to do anything, it might have very bad coloration. So it amounts to doing the right thing at the wrong time. That is exactly the problem. No matter how you look at it, people will feel that you are partisan, you want to scuttle the system. And when such things happen, like it is in Imo now, it is the grass that will suffer. It is not the authorities. So Nigerian Labour Congress must find, and the government must find a way of resolving this issue. One thing is for you to be a leader, another thing is for you to know when to do the right thing and when to retrace your steps.
Well, it's also maybe a key factor to know how many people in Imo State are, ready to down tools, on behalf of the NLC. And so, have you had conversations with workers in Imo State? Are they willing to also fight along with the NLC in a time like this? Does Joe Ajaero maybe have some level of support in Imo State, currently or not?
As we are speaking now, there are two factions of NLC in Imo State. One in support of Joe Ajaero, the other one in support of the chairman of NLC in Imo. So those in support of the NLC in Imo, incidentally, are in majority, and they've been going to work. Even yesterday at the state secretariat, workers were there. Just today that the government has declared the work-free day to enable people to go home and participate in the elections. So the effect, the only negative effect of the NLC strike is that of cutting of power, electricity supply to the people. People are suffering, artisans, minor workers, and so on and so forth. But when it comes to the civil servants and public servants, they've been going to work, and that is the situation.
Administration of Governor Hope Uzodinma. How would you rate his administration's preparedness towards these elections? And a number of people have criticized him of employing high-handed tactics to in some measure subdue the opposition and ensure that the election is leaning towards his favor. What are your thoughts on this?
Like I said earlier, election is a contest. The incumbent governor has been doing his best to campaign. Other political parties have also been carrying out their campaigns. We had initially this issue of billboards, raising the cost of mounting and placing billboards at strategic places. And the government made it clear that if you can afford it, because there's a commission in charge of finances, if you can afford, you place your billboard. Nobody will stop you from placing your billboard. And of course, media houses have been collecting jingles, adverts, and so on and so forth. So far, so good. The incumbent is carrying out his campaign, very ready for the elections, and the other candidates are also very ready for the elections.
All right. We'll see how things turn out tomorrow. What's mostly important is, that INEC carries out, of course, its duties as the electoral umpire, that the people of Imo State come out to vote and decide the trajectory of the state for the next 4 years. And of course, that security is in place to ensure that lives are not lost and, there's no chaos. Dr. Fidel Oyeneke, thank you very much for joining us. I will speak with you again.
It's a pleasure being with you. I pray that we have very peaceful election in Imo State.
We pray that too.
Not just peaceful, but also elections that people trust,
exactly.
and have faith in, basically.
Now let's move away from Imo and see what's happening in Kogi. The 2023 governorship election in Kogi State is going to be a three-horse race among three major tribes in Kogi State: the Galas in Kogi East, the Ebira in Kogi Central, and the Okun people from the West. Observers say that since the creation of the state in 1991, this is the first time that the three major ethnic groups in the state are going into the contest at the same time. Aside from the issue of ethnicity, violence, power of incumbency, anti-party activities that will decide who wins the election, stakeholders are looking up to the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to provide a level playing field for all the 18 political parties and their candidates that will be participating in the race to succeed Governor Yahaya Bello in Lugard House.
Now, also, stakeholders and political parties in the state have signed a peace accord with a charge to conduct themselves for a smooth electioneering process. Now, to give an assessment on the entire development in Kogi State, we're joined by Public Affairs Analyst and Executive Director, Lead Network Africa, Chukwuma Okenwa. Good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you so much.
All right, we're going to have you speak on Kogi State, but, I'd also like you, before we get into Kogi, let's talk about Imo first of all. There's so many things, that have been controversial with the Imo State elections. The accusations or allegations that the Imo State Governor Hope Uzodimma has been trying out different tactics to frustrate the opposition. The allegations of the use of a security, force, I think it's Tiger Base or so, that is, in the Imo State Government House, to also frustrate opposition. The Commissioner of Police that has now been changed, but of course we know his, the things that he was accused of in the past. The Imo State Resident Electoral Commissioner, who is, has close ties, allegedly, to the APC. What do you think might be going on in Imo State, and how do you think things will turn out?
I think visibly, it appeared that against our odds, Governor Hope Uzodimma is doing everything humanly possible to sustain a mandate that allegedly were not given to him by the people. When you have like a mandate, a false hope, a false support base, and you truly know that the 4 years you had, you never really had the opportunity to build your popularity, to win the hearts of the people, we can actually understand that his fears are justifiable, being that these were not people that visibly voted him into power. So he's trying to do everything possible to see how to subvert the process, to suppress voters, to stop the chances of the opposition. And I think it's really ridiculous that this is all happening in a democracy where people are denied from using public facilities to campaign, or even the opportunity of selling their candidacy by advertising to their support base. So I think like some of these things should be addressed once and for all. The fact that you are a governor, you're a public officer, it doesn't certainly mean that you have become the public or the owner of those facilities. So things like this are things that stifle out the essence of opposition and democracy, which hitherto has to include things like freedom of speech, expression, association. All of this is guaranteed in a democracy.
Now let's move to Kogi State now, which is going to be our main focus, in this conversation. Governor Yahaya Bello, of course, is hoping to hand over to, his successor. We also have, of course, Dino Melaye, the former senator, also, trying to be governor of Kogi State. There's been, a bit of controversy. Of course, the SDP candidate, also alleged that he was attacked. The police officers were shot, and a few civilians were also killed in that attack. Tell us what, your analysis is on Kogi State elections, and of course, the build-up to tomorrow.
Well, thank you so much. Interestingly, it was in Kogi that I did my National Youth Service, and I understand a bit about the dynamics that has to do with the cultural differences. Where you have like one of the tribe, not just being the most populous, but also even like far higher in number when compared with the other two. And I'm talking about the Galas that occupy 9 local governments, and of course you have the Ibiras that occupy 5 local governments, and the Okuno, which are like the Yorubas in Kogi State, which occupying only 2 local governments. Coincidentally, also one of the local government is where houses the the NYSC camp in Kogi State. And so looking at it, the dynamics of Kogi has always been that Igalas decide who becomes the governor. That has not changed like over the years until like, the emergence of Yaya Bello, who happened to be like the first Ibira man, who whether by hook or by crook, by violence or whatever dynamics, against the will of the popular tribe, was able to emerge as a governor. Now, I am sure that he's also like looked at the dynamics, the number, the very fact that if this election is to go free, fair and credible, and then most of the time, like, as long as Kogi politics is concerned, it's just like a Nigerian politics of itself, where people, like in most cases, want to vote along ethnic lines. So beyond Kogi, people are seeing SDP, PDP and APC, but right there in Kogi, the dynamics actually is Igala versus Ibira versus the Okun people, the Yorubas that are there. These are the dynamics, and they have already made up their mind. And I had time to like talk to like some old friends that are there in Kogi to actually find out what is happening. Are people rejecting APC because of APC or because of Yaya Bello's performance? And I discovered that it has little to do with that, because the Iguras may likely want to toe the same path, just to have their own candidate. But of course, unfortunately, the numbers is not there. So certainly, some of the things that we may want to see, which is also a strategy that played out last time in the case of Bello, voter suppression, the level of desperation to the point of even, digging a trench to stop a whole local government from exercising their franchise.
All right, we'll come back to you to share with us, why the people, you said you spoke with people who are in Kogi State asking if they're rejecting the APC as a party or Yaya Bello. There have been speculations. The presidential candidate of the SDP alleges that Governor Yaya Bello is trying to force a candidate down their throats. And I'm sure that this is something we'll speak about shortly. But let's head over to Kogi State now. We have our correspondent, Bettina Nweli, who is live for us in Lokoja, Kogi State capital this morning. Good morning, Bettina. Thank you very much for joining us, and well done on a great job. Give us a situation report of what it is like in Lokoja this morning.
Okay, good morning, Oliver. This morning in Lokoja is looking very peaceful and calm. Business as usual. You would almost not even remember that it is just one day to the off-cycle elections in Kogi State. There has been no reports of any violence yet, and no reports of any form of insecurity, and we are hoping, sincerely hoping, that it remains this way. But right now, all security personnel are on ground. Just like the DIG addressed the press yesterday, they have 40,000 security personnel in total that will be working this election, and we're hoping that that will be enough to make sure that they maintain law and order in Kogi State.
Very interesting. Just to be sure, is it calm because of lack of interest in the elections, or is it calm because, well, everyone just understands what goes on tomorrow, and are the security agents that are in the state, are they also maybe more, the reasons why it's so calm and peaceful?
Well, for the indigenes of Kogi State, some people who I spoke to yesterday are advocating for a change in party government. We are yet to see how that will unfold, but a lot of people are ready to come out to vote. It's not a case of, I'm not going to vote because my vote will not count. They are ready to come out in their numbers because they want a change, a visible change in the state. And hopefully, according to them, maybe if a different party enters into government, there will be a change.
All right. I wonder if you've been able to visit the INEC office yet, the polling units as well. In some states, I don't know if you can confirm if the election materials or the election officers are being moved closer to polling units. What's the situation like as regards preparedness for the election?
Absolutely, Olive. We were at the INEC office yesterday, and all the buses, even the ad hoc staff, they all arrived in their numbers, ready to make sure that tomorrow they are taking their job seriously. We are also at the CBN office yesterday, where we saw the signing of the registers of all the voting materials. So I would say that on the side of INEC in Kogi State, everything seems ready and good to go. Hopefully, there will be no last-minute surprises.
All right. We, of course, will continue to follow up and see, how things turn out there. Thank you very much, Bettina, for stopping by, and we'll be speaking with you again pretty soon.
Thank you, Osarogie. Thank you, Olive.
All right. Mr. Okenwa, back to you. Let's also get you to share your thoughts. Security is one of the biggest challenges, and we keep talking about the police presence, even the army is present in Kogi State. I did mention that the SDP candidate, of course, accused the APC's candidate or government thugs of attacking him. But, there's been no proper investigation into any of that. Police officers were killed, civilians were also killed, but still no proper investigation into, well, allegedly, still no proper investigation into any of those incidents. It basically creates an image of what the expectations are with every election cycle in Nigeria. So I want you to quickly speak on that, and how we've simply accepted that is normal. And then also, 2023 elections were disappointing for a lot of people. The people in Kogi State watched, how it turned out in the rest of the country. You think that maybe that's also motivation for people to not get involved?
Well, let me start with the second question. I think, yes, 2023 general elections, many Nigerians have their reservations, but I don't really see that play out like as much a factor in the Kogi politics, because the Kogi politics is very much local, with long-age issues of the struggle for dominance, between three sets of groups, that are so culturally different, strikingly culturally different. It's Kogi is quite very unique. It's more or less like a microcosm of the entire structure of Nigeria that have three major tribes, and then just imagine getting one of them in one state. Not as maybe like one state claims ownership and maybe others join them, like can be seen in some states of Nigeria, like Kano. But you are talking about as equal stakeholders in same states, not one tribe, right? So that's like a dynamic, and over the time, one group has led to that. And so what is actually playing out, like the popularity of the SDP candidate is well understood. He's from the major area, and that's going to play out like in tomorrow's election. Yabe will also understand that threat, right? And he's still trying to see, this time around as an Ibira man, I was able to get there. If I lose out this opportunity of continuing, with ensuring that the interest of my people is protected, that would be a challenge. And then with respect to the issue of the violence, indeed is a concern. And I think why we've actually have violence even becoming like a core strategic consideration for our politicians is that we live in a nation without consequences. As a matter of fact, if you ask me, I will tell you that the role of the election tribunal in Nigeria is at the moment diversionary. Why? In Senate claims, what you actually see is tribunal tries more of cases of attempts to either compromise the election or undermines people's right to exercise their franchise. Cases of violence are more of the things you see in issues of tribunal. Cases of like maybe compromise of the electoral empire. But then because you have incidences of electoral empire that is fair enough, you have more people congratulating, winners, and then tribunal can now focus more like in the case of Trump, who when he won, when he lost, he didn't accept that. That case is still on trial. And you can imagine like a Trump, if he eventually become president again, considering like motioning his supporters to go after the people. That will not happen. But in Nigeria, anything happen, we've seen like some people in time past who say we are not going to accept this election, and up to 8,000 people were killed. This has happened in Nigeria. So and the thing again is that when you look at this, you find out that politicians tend to like be on top of our institutions and no challenge. Because otherwise, anything that involves the loss of life of our police officers, and up till now, the police, which is the principal organization charged with internal security, criminal investigation, has now launched into full manhunt to bring the perpetrators to book. Then I think I would say that actually we're a nation that has politicized everything have allowed politics to rule our institution. It is now all about what the politicians want, not what the Constitution says.
All right. Now let's talk about the readiness of INEC to carry out elections in Imo, Kogi, and Bayelsa. Some would refer to the 2023 elections as one of Nigeria's most disorganized elections, as we've seen an increased level of election petitions after the elections. Is there a likelihood that we might see a repeat of such after these off-cycle elections?
I mean, did INEC learn anything from the earlier elections?
Off-cycle election in Nigeria has been adjudged as the best. Why is the best? Is obvious reasons. First, this luxury of having up to 40,000 security personnel deployed in just one state will certainly not happen, assuming it were a Nigeria election, because you have to talk about the spread. You have to talk about evenly distributing across maybe up to like 29 states. And of course, based on the UN ratio of the policing population to the ratio of one police officer, you know that Nigeria, is far below the bar. So we cannot even boast of that. Secondly is that the media, all the media in the country is also focusing on these few states that will be having an election. And to me, that's going to likely increase the level of credibility in that particular election. Thirdly, the issue of international observers and local observers. The assignment is not going to end for the international observers this time around in Abuja or Lagos, because elections are not happening in those places. Their focus is going to be on Imo, on Bayelsa, on Kogi, and that's likely is going to help towards a more credible election. And then the most important thing is also that all the state governors at the moment will not be focusing on, what's happening in my state. Do I have to ensure that maybe my successor, from my party retains the mandate? But all the focus of the political parties is just on the opportunity to gain 1, 2, 3 new states. If APC wins across, that will mean more states for APC. If they decide to share it amongst 3 parties, each of the beneficiaries must have gotten just one party to their national cap. So it's not something that politicians sit back and watch and say, well, it's not happening in my state. So in Anambra election, we know that it was so interesting to see over 20 governors get involved, get physically involved on ground to see. And when you have like such kind of critical stakeholders with their security, with their talks alike, and all their intel, it becomes like difficult to hoodwink anyone, because politicians are are just like every other politician.
All right, and quickly before we, of course, let you go, let's have you share your thoughts on Bayelsa also. It's also seemingly a hotspot, and I'm sure it's going to be very, very keenly contested. What are your thoughts and expectations for that one?
Well, I think relatively, the Bayelsa election for this year is expected to be relatively quite very peaceful compared to Imo and Kogi. We've not had so much of like warning signal as much as the ones we've had in Kogi and Imo, where the major or the popular candidates, their life came under threat. I mean, anything would have happened, right? If you are to try to launch an attack and eventually people around you died, but you did not die. We understand some measure of African science must have gone into that, right? But the target actually was killing on those politicians, and they eventually made that. So I am hoping people of Bayelsa turn out en masse, exercise their franchise, and ensure that the leader to take them to the next level, emerges come tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Chukwuma Okenwa, for stopping by. We will be speaking with you again pretty soon.
You're welcome.
All right.